Boom. Hello, Will from Urban Outdoors DMV. Thinking about changing the channel name. Thinking about trying some other different stuff. I'm actually going to see if I can take the fishing reports and what's going on in the Delmarva Peninsula fishing wise, and also the mainland, and see if I can read it from these reports and actually condense it and put it into a format where I know a lot of you guys like to use. You guys like to drive and listen to podcasts and stuff like that. Like I drive around all day and I use Rumble and I use YouTube to basically stream podcasts all day, and that's what I listen to. So let me see if I can kind of condense all these reports and put it in a way where it's more feasible for everyone to kind of get the information in a format. Please stick around, give it a thumbs up. I'm still going to shoot traditional fishing videos, but this is going to be something I can kind of do. I can't get out because I'm really busy, or if there's just been really crappy weather and crappy weather in my area, and it's not such crappy weather in other areas. I can bring you some of the information as it goes. So starting from west to east, we had rising temperatures this week. We're good. We just had a period of rain. We had a period of rain. We had storms rolling through yesterday, which is really badly needed. I'm not sure how the mainland is doing with rain, but we badly need it on the eastern shore because it hasn't rained here. It seems like in like a month and a half. I mean, it's been absolutely terrible. As you see, Deep Creek's been good. It's at a higher elevation in southwest. It's normally a little bit colder, but the temperatures are actually warming up. Everything's good. The only bite that seems for bass to actually been consistent last couple of like weeks, honestly, has been the worm bite. The worm bite is always fire, but I always say that wacky rigs and things like that are always like the last act of a desperate person when you're fishing. So you always take that into account. Direct fall fish caught. They did some boat ramp improvements over at Poolsville, at the Seneca Landing, which I've been over there. It's really shallow. You actually really need a bass boat or a Carolina skiff or a kayak for that area because it's really not that deep there. Largemouth has been good. They're really starting to transition to a summer pattern, which is going to be a lot of worm stuff. It's going to be top water in the evenings, but also in the mornings. Mornings should be good. Certain places are going to eat top water, other places don't. But it's typical summer stuff. When it gets really hot, you drag big worms across the bottom. But worm fishing works pretty much any time, unless they're really feeding aggressively and you want to throw something that's moving like power fishing. The only time you really need to do it. Poppers, frogs, and buzzbaits are good. The sun rises in the sky, largemouth bass seeking shade under the thick mats of the grass. If you have mats, that's great. But not everybody has big, thick mats. A lot of places are just open. Fishing for northern snakeheads is starting to slow down in some areas as snakeheads begin their spawning phase. It can be tough to get them to strike lure during this time, which will last much of June. Blue catfish are also spawning. They seem to keep an appetite, providing plenty of good fishing. And Kambo Trout actually posted a video a couple days ago. If you're not familiar with him and YouTube and his YouTube channel, he's an excellent YouTube fisherman. Or he's an excellent fisherman in general. He's part of the Eastern Shore snakehead culture we have going on over here on the Eastern Shore in the Delmarva Peninsula, and he is an early innovator of the snakehead fishing and publicizing snakehead fishing with Leisure Anglers, an innovator of the snakehead fishing on YouTube. Now, there's a bunch of YouTubers that strictly do snakehead and everything he does with the Leisure of Anglers and stuff like that in their tournaments. He's a cool guy to watch. So, I'm gonna check out some of Kambo Trout's video right now. And he's been catching a bunch of small ones all throughout this video. He caught a bunch of small ones, and also he caught a couple of good big ones too. But snakehead fishing is gonna be tough. I can speak from experience. The snakehead fishing that's been around like the last couple weeks has just been impossible over here. Like I said, when they're spawning, they're just not going to eat until they're done with the spawn and there's fry balls around. Because once you see fry balls, you can basically power fish and just throw it around to where the fry balls are at, and the snakeheads will get to eat. But it's been slow. Snakehead fishing's been slow. Now, Upper Chesapeake, now areas are open. Striped bass fishing, anglers are out exploring many locations from Conowingo Dam to Lower Susquehanna about Susquehanna Flats. Anglers are finding good striped bass success, found with casting soft plastics, crankbaits, and jerkbaits 10 to 15 feet of the water of the river, along with the edges and the flats. So, striper fishing up in Conowingo, fishing when the dam is closed, is a lot of fun because you can walk out, and a lot of times you can catch them on channel ledges or the mouth of those creeks and tributaries over there. So that's been good. Spot are starting to show up over at Sandy Point State Park, which Sandy Point is right by the Bay Bridge, if you're not familiar with that area. Spot are, you can eat spot. I've got videos on my channel where I eat spot. They're tasty, tasty fish, but they're also really, really good bait. They're like rockfish to me. The shower on the west side of the bridge, the mouth of Magothy River, and 15 feet of water. Anglers first started catching fish for white perch, and now the spot are the target. People do target these fish, and people do like to eat these fish, so they're starting to show up at Sandy Point. White perch are now on a summer pattern, which means they're going to be hiding underneath docks. They're going to be cruising in the evening. They come out. Mix of channel blue catfish being caught in every tidal river in most areas in Upper Bay. Also being caught on cut bait. Not uncommon for catfish to chase down soft plastic jigs or crankbait, especially blue cats. In Middle Bay, apparently trolling has completely stopped working. They still are catching them on cut bait sometimes, and sometimes plastics are working. Soft plastics tend to always work for striped bass when they're around and when they want to eat. Right now, apparently, they're going to be on structures, big rock pilings, stuff like that. The fishing over at Thomas Point has been really tough. Not hearing a lot of success there. There are a few striped bass being picked up by persistent. So Middle Bay is going to be tough in general right now. Probably has something to do with the fish migration, also with the salinity, the water clarity, the oxygenation. They're having a tough time. The only thing they got in the Middle Bay that's going good right now, which you're talking about, Point Lookout up to like the Chesapeake, or maybe Point Lookout down. You're having a tough time right now, so try to avoid that area. So Lower Bay and Atlantic Ocean. Lower Bay, the coastal bays, and Ocean City. Ocean City is hampered by strong northeast winds, creating some difficult conditions offshore, along with the beaches and coastal bays. Like I said, those winds last week, the last 10 days or so, were absolutely killer. The water clarity was horrible. It was just not working, not a chance. Kingfish have arrived at the beaches. Blues and stripers are showing up and being able to caught from Nassateague, probably in the morning, probably in the evening. Catamaran bloodworms, artificial baits. People seem to be doing okay over by 50 Bridge. 50 Bridge in Ocean City is always a good spot because it's illuminated in the evening. There's a ton of fish traffic. The fish more or less have to go, the current brings them into the inlet and over to where the bridge is to force them into the bay, at least the north part of the bay. That's always a good location. So fishing over there has been okay. It's been what you're typical see this time of year, which can be blues and stripers, going to be soft plastics, gotcha plugs, and things of that nature. It's going to be soft plastics and gotcha plugs and baits like that. They're going to catch them. They're mostly throwbacks. Everything's going to be under 28 inches for the most part. And then bluefish, I know keeper's not 28. I think it's probably like 10 or 11, which is weird too because when I was growing up, you basically could take as many bluefish as you want. There was no repercussions. There was no limit. You can keep as many as you want. There were no size limits. So we used to eat snapper blues when I was a kid. I said earlier, the water is just terrible with clarity this week because of the winds. The winds just make it impossible when you're fluke fishing. You need really good water clarity because they're ambush predators. Those gulp baits smell like something they want to eat, and they do like to eat them. They hold on to them. That's what that stinky smell is basically they hold it, but they really need to see it because they're ambush predators. So when you have terrible water clarity, it's just not going to work, and that's what's going on in Ocean City and the bays and stuff like that. Sea bass was good this week. Trips out to wreck and reef sites have been hampered by rough seas. Sea bass are waiting for anglers. Farther offshore in the canyons, yellowfin tuna have arrived, and catches should be good by this week. Big-eyed tuna and dolphin are also being caught by boats out trolling. A mix of golden and blue line tilefish are available near the edges of canyons. So, if you're planning a trip to Ocean City this week, you're going to have better winds than you had last week. Thank God. So, moving on to Delaware Bay. White perch has been solid, good in tidal creeks up in Delaware Bay. As northern you go, on the Jersey coastline. Augustine Beach fishing pier to Winland Beach, bloodworms for perch and cutbait catfish. Leipzig River is seeing some small trout, and people are catching them out at lighthouses and around structure. Bass assassins have been effective lures inshore, and has been white perch and catfish in tidal creeks and rivers on bloodworms and cutbait. Dan's tackle in Milton has reported that spot croaker, small trout, and bluefish have been caught at Broadkill Beach. Broadkill River holds white perch, catfish, as well as some flounder and bluefish. Lewis Harbor Marina checked in with an 8-pound, 10-ounce flounder for Jake Wilson, who caught out of Lewis and Rehoboth Canal. Lewis Harbor Marina checked in an 8-pound, 10-ounce flounder that Jake Wilson caught out of Lewis and the Rehoboth Canal, which that's a really big fish. Flounder from the canal early one morning on a speck rig baited with gulp. Cape Henlopen State Park has pretty much the same report all week. Flounder were caught on minnows, fish close to the pilings. Spot croaker and small rockfish were caught on bloodworms. Old Inland Bait and Tackle reported that bluefish have come through the inlet during the morning and incoming water. 1 or 2 ounce metal lures have been the most effective baits. A lot of boats fish indoor grounds for flounder and sea bass. The bass proved to have a lot more shorts than keepers. The same are true for flounder. Most boats came with a mixed bag of 2 species. The Horizon did manage to catch a 4-man limit, with Tim Yerkes bringing in a 4.91-pound winner. Lewis Harbor Marina reported that Katydid, Surface Tension, and Grizzly all had good catches of flounder and sea bass during the week. At Fisherman's Wharf, Captain H.C. ran his first flounder trip in the air and was pleasantly surprised by good results, no limits, but enough flounder, plus the sea bass to keep everyone happy. Offshore fishing has been really good. Yellowfin tuna has been fire this week. 10 or 11 on Monday, the Sea Dozer caught 7 yellowfins in Lewis, the first of the year of that town. On Tuesday, the Game On went 8 to 12 on yellowfins. On Wednesday, Bill Slater had 15 yellowfins and the first white marlin release for a Delaware boat. Several other charters and private boats got into tune as well. Patty Captain Bones in Odessa said the bass and the crappie have been caught in Garrison's Lake on live minnows, crappie jigs, and small plugs that have all been productive. We see a good number of anglers on a fishing pier below the dam at Wegmans Pond. Most of the guys that I follow in Delaware, actually, there are 3 or 4 that I know that are really good. Some of which I've met in person, and some of which I've just talked to on the internet that I know are real good. There was Orange 22 Fishing Cats, Dan over at 302 Fishing, and the Fishing Angler. And honestly, I haven't seen them post a whole lot. I know I haven't posted a whole lot because fishing in Delaware has been really tough. I did see Dan post some. So if you're not familiar, this is 302 Fishing. This is Dan's channel. He's a really good fisherman. He does a lot of pond hopping. And he does go saltwater fishing. I've seen him out there fishing wrecks and cobia fishing with some of his buddies. But I really like his freshwater videos. Because he's a really good angler. And it seems like I've seen him, and I've met him in person. He's a good dude, good fisherman. He does a lot of different fishing, kind of like I do. I've seen him go out in wrecks and go fish for cobia and go fish for tog. He does a lot of freshwater fishing. He does a lot of pond hopping, and I like to do that. I've done a bunch of it this week, and I catch a little fish, whatever. Dan does a good job of chronicling and videoing and editing his videos. So let's take a look at some of the smaller fish he posted on this week. These guys with these these small fish and these bait casters, and they just absolutely lay into the fish and just annihilate them when they're power fishing with these bait casters. I love it. I love it. I use a heavy braid when I fish too. I lay into them the same way. So Dan got into some smaller fish, but hey man, at least he was catching some fish. All right, looking at our moon forecast, which is going to affect our fishing. The week we have coming up, the 13th through the 20th, we're actually going to have the new moon on, looks like the 18th and 19th. So, if you guys are new to fishing, days that are like this, like the 4th when we're full, they're going to be death. Because honestly, fish can just like school up and they can eat all night and they chase. When you have nights like this, you go out there and you use a glide bait and you go out there and you hit them. But if you fish early in the morning or in the evening, days that are like, I don't know, from the 14th to like the 24th, 25th, those are good days because fish have poor visibility at night, and they come out early in the morning or in the evening, and they usually feed aggressively more in the evening as long as you can get the weather to cooperate. So looking at the weather, you got a pretty mild week where we're not going to have much of a temperature swing. We are going to have some winds, but they're not going to be too drastic. It's always windy on the eastern shore anyway, because, no matter where you are, you live around water. We're going to have mostly sunny conditions through Sunday, except for Friday. We're going to have some scattered storms. We're going to have winds out of the south and southwest, like I was saying earlier. Monday's going to be hard because wind's from the east. When every time you have offshore flow, you got winds coming out of the east. It's always bad for fishing, especially saltwater. It just messes you up. So next 5 days or so, we're going to be in really good shape. So get out there and hit the water, guys.